I think the second one will be a little while, yet.
I was going to talk about pricing because we talked fees, and I've had a lot of guests on the show, and we haven't really dug into the nitty gritty on some of these things. What are your thoughts on pricing? I had Charlie Landing on the show. You know Charlie?
I do.
You know Charlie?
I've heard his view on this.
That I know of.
Okay. He thinks you shouldn't be talking about price on a valuation or a marketing appointment. Everyone's got different words for it. He thinks it's about process.
Yes and no. I will never, ever give a specific price. So I will never go and say, your home is worth 1.1. Because then they have that in their head. And if it goes under, it's like, oh, Marie, you said. So I will always give, a kind of a 1 to 1.1. It could land somewhere there, but the process is more important to get you the highest price. Yeah. And one of my lines is, we could all sit here today, take a guess at what it'll sell for, and I'll be wrong. So the important is not what an agent is going to tell you. I can come here and say it's worth 1.3. Here you go. I just took the number out of the air. It's more important, how are we going to get to that? And I promise I'll get you the max value for your house. Whatever that price ends up being, I'll get you the max. And I leave it at that because you kind of need to, especially in our end, again, where some properties are so unique. I think it's easier, again, if you have 5 of the same houses on the same street and you can say, oh, I'll get you between 330, 340, but you can't really be that specific in the high end.
Can that be controversial?
Yes, please.
Just imagine if we get to a point with regulation reform and the agent has to publish their valuation along with the evidence of why they've come to that conclusion. Okay? Because then that stops the vendor from saying, actually, let's just put it on for 500.
Isn't this part of this reform about transparency for estate agents?
Again, devil in
performance or something?
The performance, yeah. But if you've got a vendor, let's say, Matt, I value your house at £500,000, and that's transparent, okay? But you want to put it on at 550. Well, if you know that actually my valuation's transparent, why would you put it on for 550? Because every buyer's going to say, well, it's not worth it. So in some respects, that challenges. And I think the bit that's often forgotten here is some of the figures that go out to the market are driven by vendor expectation.
Oh, yeah. You can tell the estate agent, they're like, that's not an estate agent price, that's the vendor price.
What percentage would you say are driven by vendor valuations? Come on, let's be honest. Let's be honest for the audience. No, it's all estate agents listening anyway.
Yeah.
What percentage, and you can answer this as well if you're watching, what percentage is the vendor price versus the agent price?
I'm going to say, Matt, I don't know. The teams that are dealing with this on a day-to-day, but I would say there's probably 10-20% that the vendor is heavily influencing.
Mine is 0. I walk away if they don't have...
Oh, yeah, I know yours is.
Yeah.
But forget you for a second. Step into the industry. When you look out there on the market...
I'd say it's probably more than 20%, honestly.
I'm going higher.
I'm going high. It would be...
I'm over 50%.
Yeah, I'd say 50 to 60, easy.
And the reason I say that is because it's around 50% that get listed that don't get sold.
Yeah, 51% Rightmove said last year.
So the only reason they're not sold has to be either marketing or price.
Yeah, or a mix of both. Yeah.
Which is the number one. The only reason is agent, right? It's not marketing price because the agent dictates both.
Yeah.
They should be able to have the ability, the confidence to educate the client. It comes back down to value again. But when we're in the market that we're in, would you describe the market that we're in as a declining price market, a stable market, or a price increasing market in your areas?
I would say it's relatively flat, and I think it's gone from a market where people are expecting their house to go up to a market where they're happy to expect it to be relatively stable. And I think the market conditions influences the confidence in the agent to how they tackle those conversations. It's a lot easier to tackle that conversation when the market's going down because the press is all saying the market's going down. When you've got the media saying market's going absolutely berserk, very difficult to control that.
But you're going back to your agents. Do they price the house, or do the vendors price the house, or do they agree a price with the vendor, or do they just trust the process?
I would say in the main, we would absolutely provide a valuation, market appraisal. Market appraisal only. We'd provide a market appraisal. Look, the market appraisal is going to give a range. Back to your point, we can't say that property is worth £504,000. we can absolutely pull it in the right marketplace, and we can advise on where we think that asking price should be.
Because estate agents over the years, I mean, I've seen it all, right? I've seen it all, where they'd sit with you, you're the vendor, and they'd be going 500. Or they'll go, I think your house is worth about 500,000. Then they'd look at your reaction. If you look disappointed, they'd go, the lowest.
Yeah.
And then they would go, well, actually, you could go up to 550 and test the market. And then you'd look a bit happier and go, should we try it at 550?
Yeah, gauge the reaction.
Or if they said 500 and you looked delighted, they'd say, that's to test the market.
Yeah.
That was
crap,
the
I went too high.
pricing. That's how you price a house in Estate Agency 101. I think Charlie's got something. And I think the process to finding the right buyer,
who will dictate the highest price. Like, we can't guarantee it. We can't
have you
say.
sold properties in all of your years for more than you expected?
Yeah.
For less than you've expected?
Yes, both.
Same?
Absolutely agree.
So we don't fucking know.
No,
right?
and,
We are allowed to swear. I won't be an hour in. But we don't know.
Yeah.
What we do know, fact, is the best buyer whose needs are met by your property are the easiest and the best to negotiate the best price with. Our mission is to get you a process and introduce you to a process which will attract the best buyer to achieve that negotiation position.
Here is the steps.
Whether they're competing, open house, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
or whether we just attract them. But it's that conversation that needs to be had more. And then when you get John from Connells or Countrywide, or not to shame you guys, but someone that goes out there and they're told get it at whatever cost, and they're sat there on the sofa and saying to the vendor this ridiculous price. You and I, we're going to talk about the different price ranges.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about what's sold, what's on the market, why they haven't sold, and then you're going to tell me what you think, right? Because at the end of the day, the price is dictated by buyer and their desire, and the seller and their willingness to be more open, especially when we're in a market which I'm guessing, I feel like prices have declined. I think prices are, you could argue they're stable, but I think actually if you look at the net prices, I think there's more people being more flexible these days because they've just gradually educated themselves. I'm not sure estate agents have educated clients enough. And we now have data at our fingertips. Stories on hand every single day, which clients just don't know about.
Absolutely. But I think clients also are aware of a lot more data today than they used to be.
Yeah. I agree with that
data
as well.
will take you so far. It's the interpretation of the data that effectively comes to the results. So I don't think we're going to get to a world, and I've spoken to Charlie on his views, and it's great to have different opinions on it, but I don't think we're going to get to a world where the vendor sets the price and we talk about service, because the vendors will need to be guided. Otherwise, we're back to that 50% conversation of vendors dictating the price to be too high. We're still going to end up talking about price because no vendor, we don't want it on the market at £1 million. It should be 900.
Yeah.
You can't avoid, I don't think, the
but
conversation
like,
of price.
I've done some valuations where they go, the other agent said, let's say, I had a recent case last week, that my house, because he has planning to build a house, and fair enough that there's planning in place for a little 3-bed house. He said, the estate agent said it's worth 1.4. I was like, okay. Did they show you any comparables for that? No, he just told me. I'm like, but he said, but they sell a lot in the area, so I trust him. I'm like, okay, here are 15 comparables and all the stats showing you that it's not worth more than 1.2. And they're like, yeah, but he said 1.4. I'm like, I've got it in front of you. He didn't show you anything.
And if they said to you, look, Marie, I want to use you. Can you try it for 1.4?
No, so I walk away. I've done it multiple times. And this is why I say mine is 0. Because
your boundaries are clear.
Yeah, if I only take a select few, I work with 4 or 5 vendors at once, then I have a waiting list. And if I know it's not going to sell, I'm using my resources, my time, my money, I'm not going to take it and I'll walk away. And I have told, multiple of them saying, look, I want to work with you, and I think the house is great and we get along, but in realistic values. So if you're willing to go to offers over 1.2, then great, let's make a deal. If not, then I'll see you in 6 months.
So just